Welcome back to NFL Live. Eric Mangini, along with Bill Cowher, Leslie Frazier, and Jets assistant special teams coach Ben Kutwika, representing the NFL on a USO coaches tour. It is the third annual trip current and former coaches have made, and it'll be spent meeting members of the military and celebrating the 4th of July with the troops. I woke up this 4th of July having received a tweet from Atlas031, otherwise known as Major Erik Heinz. He hails from Gurnee, Illinois, and he spent 23 years in the Army, and he loves the Bears. He told me this morning that meeting the NFL coaches overseas was a lifetime experience. And on this, America's 236th birthday, I can promise you, Major Heinz, the honor is all theirs. And considering that Heinz hopes his future plans include a job in the field of sports, we're going to let him and a few others assume analyst duties with our coach overseas.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Coach Leslie Frazier of the Minnesota Vikings, and we're joined by Major Heinz, a diehard Chicago Bears fan, Specialist Lamb, a Cowboys fan, Sergeant First Class Butler, Falcons/Steelers, and Sergeant Major Euler, a Colts fan. What I'd just like to say to you guys, we've only been here a short amount of time, but I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing and the sacrifices that you're making and your families are making, and it was humbling when they asked us to come out, and it's been even more humbling just seeing the service, the selflessness, the dedication, the loyalty, and the sacrifices that you guys are making.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Eric. It's been quite an experience in the short time we've been here. Yourself and me and Bill Cowher, along with Ben Kutwika, I mean, all of us are so appreciative of the USO for sponsoring this trip and allowing us to come over and visit with the troops. And it's been a tremendous experience just to see the joy and understand what you guys are battling every single day to protect our rights in the United States and to protect our freedom as well. And it's given all of us a greater appreciation for what you do. So thank you. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
And I know you guys have a lot of questions, so we'll start with you, Major Heinz. I know you're a diehard Chicago Bears fan. There's no one better to answer your questions than the man standing to my right. Go ahead.
Coach, the question that I have for you is the confidence that a lot of analysts are showing now with the NFC North, with the Packers and the Lions and their offensive weapons that they have. How much do you think that's actually going to derail their performance down the road and leave the door open for Jay Cutler and Urlacher to make it all the way?
Wait a minute. We're inviting this discussion, huh? I mean, well, it is a tough division. You mentioned 3 good teams in the division. There is a 4th team in the division, and
yes, Coach,
we like to have something to say about who's going to end up winning the NFC North. But there's a lot of talk about Detroit, along with what Green Bay has done. But Chicago has made some moves this offseason that's really caught some people's attention with Brandon Marshall. They had a very good draft as well. So I don't think Chicago is flying under the radar. There are a lot of people predicting the Bears to have a good season as well. But it'll be a very competitive division, more so than people think, and I think everybody in the division is looking forward to the 2012 season.
Thank you, Coach.
And I think the other thing that happens is everybody goes into the season thinking that this team is going to win the division based on last year's results, but every year there's 5 teams that are out of the playoffs, and there's 5 teams that weren't in the year before that are into the playoffs, and I think you are underestimating the Minnesota Vikings. So, Major or Specialist Lamb, Cowboys?
Diehard Cowboy
What are your
fan.
thoughts?
Well, pretty much being a Texas Longhorn fan, being from Texas, I pretty much want to ask about Adrian Peterson. His rehab is doing better. You know, he went to Oklahoma, not really big on them, but I just want to know, 'cause I'm a fan of his, so I just want to know, how's his rehab going on?
Well, Adrian is doing well. In everything he's done this offseason, he's been right on point. He's not behind in any area in his rehab, and we're optimistic that he's going to be ready for our first game against Jacksonville. But so far, so good. So we got our fingers crossed, hoping he'll make it.
Sergeant First Class Butler, now Steelers, Falcons. Where's our question going?
My question is for Coach Frazier. You was a member of the '85 Bears, one of the best defenses of all time. I'm a Steelers fan. We're known for a hard-nosed defense. Do you feel that the commissioner's crackdown on hard hits is hurting the game?
Well, First Class Butler, that's a question that's been asked a number of times throughout this offseason. It's a hot topic right now in the National Football League. One of the keys to what the commissioner is doing, and one of the keys that the NFL Players Association is trying to get accomplished, along with coaches, everybody's concerned about player safety. And for that reason, whatever it would take to protect our players, I think we're all in agreement that whatever the commissioner needs to do to get that done, we'd all like to see it happen without it taken away from the game. The reasons that the fans love the game, but we need to protect our players, and that has been a big concern.
And I think the commissioner too is doing what he's doing to try to get to a point where protection is at a maximum level, and sometimes there is some growing pains with that, and there's a learning curve with that. But the more that we can keep the players on the field, I think everybody agrees that's the best situation. And plus, I think people are excited when they can see a lot of points scored. So if the rules favor the offense a little bit, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So Sergeant Major Euler, Colts fan?
Colts fan, absolutely.
Okay, tell us what you're thinking.
Coach Frazier, I guess what I'd like to ask is, you know, unfortunately the Colts had the first choice in this year's draft, you know, with a 2-14 record. And of course they took Andrew Luck, which I believe was a great selection. But had Minnesota had that first selection or first chance in the draft, would you have taken RG3 or would you have taken Andrew Luck?
Well, fortunate for me and the rest of our team, we have Christian Ponder as our starting quarterback, and we're looking forward to watching his maturation over the years to come. And so we would have been in a different situation than either the Colts or the Redskins. So we probably would have approached it a little bit different. But both of those guys are going to be great quarterbacks in our league, and I think we're all looking forward to watching both of them develop and turn out to be real good players.
Coach, on the same line with that, the other question I had was, had you selected one of those quarterbacks, or any quarterback who has to replace, in the case of Peyton Manning, what would you say to that young quarterback who has to replace a Hall of Famer like Peyton Manning?
Well, I don't know if you can replace Peyton. You know, I had a chance to coach with the Colts and got a Super Bowl ring while I was there, and I witnessed a number of Sundays Peyton doing some unbelievable things at the quarterback position. So I don't know if you can really replace him. I mean, there'll be someone else lining up at quarterback, but I don't know if there'll ever be another Peyton Manning. He's one of the greatest competitors that I've ever seen as a player, and a guy who has the ability to lift the entire team through his play. And Eric had a chance to coach against him a number of times, but he's a special guy. So hopefully with Andrew, he'll just concentrate on being the best that he can be and not try to compare himself to Peyton.
And I think that's really important. When you have a young quarterback, you don't want them to be somebody else. You want them to be who they are, because it's authentic. And the other thing that it's so easy to forget is these guys go through a huge learning curve no matter how talented they are. Whether you look at Troy Aikman or Peyton Manning, when he first came out, they didn't have great records initially. So there's going to be a lot of bumps along the way.
Sure.
So let's give you some power. Here, you're commissioner for the day. We'll start with you, Major Heinz, and we'll go right around the table. There's one rule that you can change, anything you want. You have the power. What would it be and why?
Well, Coach, I think because the issue with the referees right now, I think every coach should have the referees wear an Ed Hockley T-shirt.
I really like the way you look into the camera when you say that, too. You're connecting with the people at home, and that's great.
Well, mine pretty much is a mandatory tribute to Junior Seance. And I really was a big fan of him, and I know, and I just feel like, you know, every team, either a patch or just a little tribute to him. And I think that's what I would do if I became commissioner.
What are you thinking?
No offense, Coach, but I'm a fan of defense. No offense to your Patriots team, but the tuck rule's got to go.
Oh, no. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, and then I showed him this, and I think the tuck rule has got to stay. And really, it's just based on where you fall in terms of that game and how it affects you. I'm sure John Gruden has a pretty strong feeling in your favor.
I'm sure he does.
How about you?
Well, I guess Coach Frazier would be for you. You know, the NFL last year made some changes in the overtime rule. I think they were headed in the right direction because I didn't like the sudden death. But do you think that's the rule that they should have gone to, or should they go back to the sudden death?
Well, as you know, this offseason, the league changed the rule again. Now it's going to be a little bit more consistent. A season ago, the rules were a little bit different in the regular season and then in the playoffs. Now there's going to be consistency across the board. We'll have the same rule in the regular season that we have in the postseason. So that's going to help teams to kind of prepare for what's going to happen in the postseason. We witnessed